Congratulations, you've picked out a great looking Pergo floor. And now it's time to install it. To get started, we've created this video to provide instructions for site prep and floor installation. We're installing a Pergo Laminate floating floor using the Uniclic locking system. If your Pergo flooring has a plastic clip in the short side joint, please refer to the installation instructions in the box. This will require a different installation method. Before you begin, read the installation instructions and call with any questions or concerns. Installation requires a number of tools. See the complete list in the printed instructions. You'll need safety items such as glasses, gloves, knee pads, and a mask, and items like a tape measure, level, pencil, utility knife, hammer, and pry bar. For most installations, you'll need a saw, such as a circular saw, table saw, or miter saw. We recommend a saw with a carbide-tipped blade. In some cases, you may also need an undercut saw and a jigsaw. There are some specific tools and materials needed for your flooring installation, and you'll find them at your local home improvement store. A tapping block is used to ease planks into place, while spacers are needed to provide the proper expansion space. Finishing putty may be needed for any blemishes and finishing screw holes. And a 100% silicone sealant may be needed if you're installing a floor in a high moisture area, like kitchens, mudrooms, laundry rooms, and bathrooms. All floating floors require underlayment. If your Pergo flooring does not have underlayment attached, or if you want to increase the performance of your flooring with an attached pad, you'll want to purchase underlayment. If your subfloor is concrete, you must use a vapor barrier. It's optional over a wood subfloor. We recommend Pergo Gold for increased sound and thermal insulation and moisture protection. If you purchase Pergo Gold, the vapor barrier is contained as part of the underlayment. If you're using a different brand of underlayment, check the package before you buy. The flooring that we're installing today comes with an attached pad. Before you install your new floor, it's important to inspect the site. Your Pergo laminate floor requires a clean, dry, flat, and structurally sound subfloor that meets all local building codes. Floors should be installed in rooms that maintain a controlled climate. This means between 60 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity from 35 to 65%. Remember, laminate floors are for indoor use only and shouldn't be installed outside or in rooms with either floor drains or sump pumps. A moisture test must be performed to determine if excessive moisture exists in the subfloor. When using a calcium chloride moisture test for concrete subfloors, values must be less than or equal to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet per 24 hours, or less than 80% with an in situ probe. Moisture readings of wood subfloors must be less than or equal to 12%. Since a Pergo floor floats above the subfloor, you can install it over wood, concrete, and most vinyl and ceramic tile. It should never be constrained by glue, nails, or screws. Acclimate the flooring by setting it in the room for at least 48 hours. Keep in mind that for your warranty to be valid, you must follow the installation instructions. In addition to this video, you'll find instructions included in the flooring box, and you can download instructions for your specific Pergo floor from pergo.com. Make sure that the subfloor is dry, secure, and flat, and remove any carpet, pad, and tack strips. If you're installing a laminate floor over a concrete subfloor, you'll need to remove any existing wood flooring first. Resilient flooring, such as vinyl sheet or tile and ceramic tile, normally do not need to be removed. Be sure to use a vapor barrier if these existing flooring products are installed over a concrete subfloor, and make sure all flatness requirements are met. The subfloor should be dust and dirt free, so give it a good sweep or vacuum. Make sure the floor is clean, dry, flat, and structurally sound. If you need to undercut the door frame, use a spare plank to measure the height of the cut and cut 1 inch into the wall base. Clean out the debris and slide the plank 1/4 inch under the door frame, and make sure that you have a hidden 3/8 inch expansion space. Leave a 1 1/8 inch space in the doorways to provide room for the T-molding that will join your new and existing floors. Keep in mind that a transition molding must be used in any doorway less than or equal to 4 feet wide. Run a level or a straight edge across the floor to check for any peaks or depressions. Sand or plane any peaks, and fill depressions to ensure no more than 3/16 of an inch unevenness per 10-foot span. With these steps completed, it's time to install the floor. Determine the number of rows of planks you'll need to fill the room. Measure the width of the room and the width of the planks. Now divide the width of the room by the width of the planks. If the last row is less than 2 inches, you'll have to cut the first row accordingly so that the first and last row are even widths. A good tip is to open the boxes as you install and inspect the planks for defects or damage. To recreate the look of a natural hardwood floor, mix planks from multiple boxes to prevent obvious pattern repeats. This installation features the Uniclic locking system, a tongue and groove system that allows 2 options for joining planks together. You can either angle the planks together until they lock in place, or you can slide and tap them into place. Decide the best direction to install the planks based on the shape of the room. You may want to consider things like the longest and straightest wall, the location of the incoming light, and architectural elements like fireplaces or door frames. For ease of installation, assemble the first few rows several feet away from the starting wall with your back toward the wall. Once those first rows are assembled, slide the assembly to the starting wall, leaving a 3/8 inch expansion space around all sides. You will then be able to kneel on top of the assembled rows as you continue to install. For the first row, you'll need to remove the tongue on the long side joints of the planks and on the short side joint of the first plank only. Based on the size of our room, we need to rip the first row. We'll use a utility knife to remove just the short side tongue of the first plank. We have our first row of planks ready to go with the tongue cut off and at a width that is appropriate to allow enough space for our final row of planks. Assemble the entire first row with the cut side toward the wall by inserting the short side tongue into the short side groove of each plank and rotating downward. When you reach the end of each row, you'll need to measure from the wall to the last installed plank to get the length of the end plank. Make sure to leave a 3/8 inch expansion space. Cut the plank and install it. When installing along uneven walls, use a compass to trace the pattern onto your planks. Make sure to number them before you disassemble the row. Cut out the pattern and reassemble them in numbered order. And don't forget the spacers when you put it back together. For the most natural look, avoid a repeating or brick pattern by making sure that joints are staggered over several rows. Ensure at least a 12-inch end joint offset from the prior row. To assemble the second row, insert the long side tongue of this plank into the long side groove of your first plank at a slight angle until the laminate edges meet, and then rotate down until the joints lock. Next, insert the short side tongue of a full plank into the short side groove of the first plank in row 2 and rotate downward. There will be a gap between the long sides of the planks. Raise the outside edge of the second row plank upward approximately 1 inch. Maintain this angle as you pull the plank in until the laminate edges meet. Then, rotate downward on the plank until the joint locks. Repeat these steps to complete the row. Here's a tip. Place a carton of planks across the end of the row being installed to keep the installed planks in place during installation. When possible, start the next row with the piece trimmed from the previous row. The first piece must be at least 8 inches long. Once you've assembled 3 or 4 rows, push these rows up against your starting wall with the spacers in place to maintain the 3/8 inch expansion space around the perimeter. Spacers should also be placed at the beginning and end of each row. This will ensure that you've left enough space for the floor to expand. Continue the installation in the same manner until you've covered the subfloor, being sure to maintain at least a 12-inch stagger between the joints. When installing under a door frame, tap or slide the long side joint to close it, and finish by tapping the plank into place. For the last row, measure the distance from the second to last row to the wall. Cut each plank to the correct width and install. Again, for uneven walls, you'll need to scribe the planks as shown with the first row. Install the long side tongue into the groove with the end joint aligned. Using a pull bar and hammer, work evenly along the length of the plank and lightly tap the joint closed. After tapping the long side joint closed, tap the short side closed, using a tapping block or pull bar. Check to see if all joints look secure and the floor is well fitted in the space with enough room for 3/8 inch expansion along the walls and against any fixed objects. If you choose the tapping method of installation, you'll follow the same basic steps. Align the tongue and groove on the short sides of the planks, then place a tapping block on the end of the plank and tap lightly until the joint is closed. Follow the same method to join the long sides, lining up the tongue and groove. Place the tapping block no closer than 8 inches to the end of each plank. Then tap lightly along the plank until the joint is closed. Note that uneven tapping or excessive force may damage the joint. Finish the installation as demonstrated earlier. Remove any spacers between the floor and the wall, and proceed to add molding and trim to finish the floor, like a T-molding in your doorway or quarter round along your walls. If you're using the new Pergo Outlast Plus laminate floor with Spill Protect 24 and you want wall-to-wall water resistance, you'll need to include a couple of steps in the installation. These steps are extremely important to ensure that the water-resistant portion of the warranty is valid. Make sure to follow the installation instructions for a Pergo floor using the Uniclic locking system we've just demonstrated. Remember that in order for the floor to resist moisture, the locking joints on the planks must remain intact. Insert the foam backer rod in the gap between the edge of the planks and the wall. Place a bead of 100% silicone sealant along the top of the foam backer rod around the entire room so that the edge of the plank is covered. The silicone should connect the edge of the laminate surface to the wall or vertical surface. Be careful not to use excessive amounts of silicone and have a rag handy to clean up any mess. The foam backer rod will let the floor expand and contract, allowing the silicone to seal out any moisture that may seep between the edge of the planks and the wall. Sealant must be 100% silicone. Do not use acrylic sealant. Once the silicone sealant is installed over the backer rod, you can finish the floor with moldings and trim. Add a bead of silicone to the portion of the molding or transition that will contact the flooring as well. Place it on the floor. Use a rag to remove any excess silicone. When installing transitions, place the foam backer rod in the expansion space next to the metal track that will hold the molding. Apply silicone to the top of the foam backer rod just as you did around the perimeter of the room, connecting the edge of the plank to the track. And again, add a bead of silicone to the underside of the transition molding that will contact the laminate flooring. Then insert the transition molding into the track. Apply silicone sealant at connections to door frames or where any other fixed objects meet the floor. If you're installing any Pergo laminate floor, with the exception of Outlast Plus, in a higher moisture area like a bathroom, mudroom, laundry room, or kitchen, you'll want to seal with 100% mildew-resistant silicone sealant around any tubs, basins, or exterior doors. In the kitchen, you'll need to add sealant around the sink, dishwasher, refrigerator, and ice maker water lines. To clean your floors, simply wipe dust away with a dust mop or damp mop. You can make your own floor cleaner by adding 1 cup of vinegar or 1/3 cup ammonia to a gallon of water. Spray the cleaner directly on the mop and not on the floor. You may wet mop Pergo Outlast Plus if it's been installed properly according to the installation instructions. Be sure to wring out your mop before placing it on the floor. Don't use steam cleaners and jet mops, they can damage your Pergo floor. You can also vacuum your floor using the hard surface attachment. Use felt furniture protectors and replace any plastic feet or casters on furniture with rubber. You can fix minimal floor damage with finishing putty, but for more serious damage, you'll need to call an expert. For questions or more information, visit pergo.com. Enjoy your new Pergo floor.